Guys, I'm back, and time to do Marie Ivanovich's Yovanovich, her astrology. Okay, we just finished, or I just finished her numerology and her Kabbalah, and now we're going to take a look at her chart. And I have two charts here. Um, this is the she was born November 11th, 1958 in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. And she was a Tuesday, and she this is the noon chart. Okay, I had to sort of fill in a little bit because my printer is running out of ink. This is the noon chart. Interestingly enough, in the noon chart, and of course the noon chart is more of her sort of outer persona kind of thing. What's interesting about the noon chart is her ascendant is at 27 degrees of I'm sorry, her ascendant is over here. Her ascendant is at 27 degrees of Capricorn. What's interesting about that degree of Capricorn is that's the degree of the United States Pluto. And so on some level, her public persona affects the United States Pluto. And we're about to have our Pluto return in 2022. And so there's some connection here with her, and as perhaps a linchpin in whatever it is that we're going to experience, or what we're experiencing is all a part of the Pluto return. And then of course we have in the noon chart at this time, Pluto is moving through her 12th house, and Saturn is there as well. And Saturn in the 12th house is no fun, but but it is a karmic time. Okay, it is a karmic time. Now, if we look at this and we do a dawn chart, the dawn chart. So I also have a dawn chart, right? And the dawn chart, according to some astrologers and an astrologer that was watching me, um, suggested that this is more of her own personal journey. This, of course, is when you don't have an accurate birth time. If we had an accurate birth time, we would be golden, but we have to work with what we have. Um, okay, so there's a couple of things I want to point out about this chart. We're going to use this chart. And because the houses are not accurate, we're just going to sort of be looking at the planets and different aspects that she has. And then we're going to look at how her chart lines up with Donald Trump's chart. And so if she was born 11/11 at 1 minute past midnight, so 12:01 a.m. on 11/11, her moon would have been at, I believe it was, hold on, let me see here. Her moon would have been at 17 degrees of Scorpio. If she was born a minute before the end of the day, 11/11, her moon would be at like 3 degrees, 2 degrees some odd minutes of Sagittarius. So she either has a Scorpio moon or a Sagittarius moon. It's more likely that she has a Scorpio moon just because for the majority of the day, the moon was in Scorpio. Okay. Either way, though, it works for her. She does have other Scorpio and she does have other Sagittarius in her chart. So it's seen in her chart anyway. So she has a lot of Scorpio. Okay, 11/11. She's got a lot of Scorpio. She has her sun in Scorpio, her moon most likely in Scorpio, her Venus is in Scorpio, her Jupiter is in Scorpio, and her Neptune is in Scorpio. Neptune is a more subgenerational signature. Jupiter is in a sign for about a year, so she was born the year I guess that Jupiter was in Scorpio. She has her Sun and Venus. Now, this is dawn. Okay, this is the eastern horizon, and so the planets sort of go in this direction. They rise this way, and she has Venus rising before the sun. And Venus is always going to be very close to the sun. It can't be more than 48 degrees away from the sun because of the way it's sort of lined up in the sky. Venus is an inner to the Earth, so it's always going to be within some sort of orb to the sun, just like Mercury, only it's a little bit wider, or the degree is a little bit wider, 48 degrees, I believe. And so there can be a semi-square to Jupiter and the Sun as far as aspects, or there can be a conjunction. Now, there can be either a new phase conjunction where Venus is moving away from the Sun, or there can be a balsamic conjunction where Venus is moving toward the Sun. And they have a different vibration. The balsamic conjunction, or when Venus is behind the Sun, is considered an evening. She has a Venus evening star. If it is ahead of the Sun, it is a Venus morning star. And Venus evening stars tend to be more, have more of the energy of Libra, whereas the Venus morning star has more of the energy of Taurus, Aries. And so the Venus morning star is considered more of a warrior energy. This is a person who's willing to sort of go into places that, because Venus is not that, we'll call it aggressive of a vibration. But when you have a Venus morning star, you're willing to take chances. She has that. She has a Venus morning star in Scorpio. Okay. She has a very close conjunction. Now, at dawn, they were just a minute apart. And what's interesting about this is that both her and Adam Schiff have Venus in a close conjunction to the Sun. Okay. And we can do his chart maybe later today or tomorrow, because he has a very interesting chart. Again, we don't have a time on him. So we have Scorpio, and she also has a moon in Scorpio or in Sagittarius. The relationship between the sun and the moon says a lot about a person. It can describe your life. It can describe, sort of what you're doing in your life. She has the sun, moon in a new phase to one another. She actually, in the dawn chart, she has a conjunction. And we don't know if that's accurate. But either way, we have the moon ahead of the sun and the moon ahead of the sun, whether she has a Sag moon or whether she has a Scorpio moon. So this has the energy of the new phase. It has the energy of Aries. And so this is somebody who's courageous, somebody who's willing to sort of like move forward out into the world. Okay, and in Scorpio, she's dealing with some pretty heavy duty energies. This is somebody who could have a job in a dangerous place. I'm not going to say she enjoys it, but she's not afraid of it. She's not afraid to do that. So this is a very courageous woman. Okay, she has Saturn, the planet that is associated with the type of work that you do, in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is the archetype associated with foreign places. Okay, so she would have a job as a foreign agent. It's not agent. I forget what they call it. So we see that here. Somebody who would work away from home, Sagittarius. Let's see. She has, the nodes of her moon, very interesting. She has a south node in Aries, meaning that she comes from an Aryan place. And we can see that Aries energy with her morning star Venus. We can see that Aries energy with her new phase sun-moon relationship. But she also has it as a south node, meaning that Mars is the ruling planet of her south node. Okay. And if we look at Mars, she has Mars in Taurus. But it's retrograde, which is very interesting because Mars in Taurus tends to be very slow and very methodical, and make it retrograde, and it's even more so. There's a real considered action here. Okay, real considered action here. And that's the perfect kind of energy for an ambassador. Um, all right. And her North Node, of course, is in Libra. And Libra is all about diplomacy. Okay, so she's got her North Node in Libra. It's actually conjunct Ceres in Libra. Ceres is the mother goddess energy. And so she would be concerned for women and children. Um, in her work, definitely women and children. She has the planet, the asteroid um, Pallas Athena in Libra. Pallas Athena is social justice. Libra is justice. She also has Juno conjuncture Pallas Athena. Juno is the relationship, a relationship asteroid, but she also deals with taking care of people who can't take care of themselves, the sick, the infirmed, the young. Okay. So this is somebody who's very concerned with the welfare of other people. She has her Mercury in Sagittarius, which means she's broad-minded. She likes to look at the big picture. Okay. And it's actually part of a kite pattern here. She's got her Saturn here in oh no, that's not part of the kite pattern. I'm sorry. She does have a kite. She has Saturn trine her south node and trine Uranus up here in Leo. And then opposite all of that is Chiron in Aquarius. Chiron in Aquarius is the wound of alienation or feeling like you don't belong. And so that possibly could be part of her own healing journey, kind of feeling like an outsider. And so she spends her life healing that within herself, and in that she heals other people. Aquarius, um, and she has a Pluto in Virgo, of course, born in 58. She has a Pluto in Virgo. It's at 4 degrees 4 minutes of Virgo, and in the dawn chart, she has it up on the cusp of the 10th house. So that's somebody who is um, a transformational character. Okay, so what else do I want to say about Marie? Okay, I think that's where I want to stop on Marie. And let's look at how her chart lines up with Donald Trump. And we'll see some very telling things. Okay, the inside here is Donald Trump. We do have a time of birth for him, so his chart is, I guess, relatively accurate. We have the right time of birth, that is. And then we have Maria's dawn chart around the outside, and we can see right away we have some connections. Probably the most prominent connection I see is this one up here. This line right here is the midheaven of Donald Trump. He has it at about 25 degrees of Taurus, and we have Marie Yovanovich's Mars sitting right there on his MC, and so he would experience her as a threat. He would experience her as a threat. His Mars is right on his ascendant line from the 12th house. His Mars and her Mars are square to each other, and that's crisis. Okay, so there's another indication that he would see her or feel her as a threat. Now, what's interesting about the relationship between his Mars and her Mars is when you look at two people and their relationship to one another. If you look at his Mars at 26 degrees, 46 minutes of Leo, okay, right here. Her Mars in relationship to his Mars is how her Mars affects him. We make his Mars be the stationary point, and her Mars would be the one that's sort of applying to his. And she has a almost, not quite, but minutes away, last quarter square to his. It's actually on the disseminating side of the square. You can have it on the disseminating side or on the last quarter side. Either way, this puts pressure, and the pressure is one of questioning authority. Okay, so she questions his authority. Not just does she question his authority. She doesn't have to say anything. She just has to sit there and breathe. And she's questioning his authority. And we know how he likes that, right? Okay. If you take her Mars and apply his Mars to her Mars, his Mars is actually, let me see, is it the same relationship? I think it's a first quarter square. Her Mars. Her Mars is the stationary point, and his Mars is coming onto her Mars. I'm not sure. I have to think about that. Sorry, I just pressed the thing on my chair here. All right, let's I'll look at that. I'm not exactly sure. Actually, I can do it right now. 1 second. Where's her Mars? Her Mars is here. His Mars would be here. So his Mars is actually a first quarter square to her Mars. First quarter square is crisis in action, and it's actually first quarter. Okay, it's gone over that 90-degree mark. And so what he does for her is he makes her take an action. He makes her take an action. So she felt the need to probably speak up. And speak up especially because her Mars here, but her Mars in her tree of life, her path of life is a 45-9 right here in Gabura. And Gabura is the Sephiroth associated with the planet Mars. So he made her, just through his energy, take an action. Okay, so she's questioning his authority and he's pushing her to act. All right, so that's very exciting, and they're square each other, so they're going to be a threat to one another. Her Saturn at 23:41 minutes of Sagittarius is conjunct his Moon and his South Node. So this is karma. Saturn is karma. Saturn is the reaper, right? The grim reaper. It's paying the piper, and it is conjunct his South Node. So this is probably not their first foray. If we go back past lives, which we can't do really, but the energy is there. She is an authority figure. And we know how he loves women in authority, right? We know how he just loves that, right? So her Saturn is right there. So she's a real bummer. She's also a bummer to him if he's trying to do something from the past, if he's trying to utilize a trick or something from the past, South Node, okay? And the Moon there, she makes him feel very insecure, okay? She has Vesta conjunct his Pluto. His Pluto and Leo in that 12th house, the fear of being nothing. And her Vesta is right on there. Vesta is focusing on that. And so she brings out all his fear and loathing, okay, of himself, his fear, his self-loathing. He also has Uranus sitting there on, she has Uranus sitting on his Pluto. And so she becomes a transformational energy to his soul. I think, no, maybe not. I was going to say Adam Schiff has his Uranus and Leo, but I don't think it's that close because he was born in 60. So it would be further away. Her North Node here in Libra is conjunct his Jupiter's conjunct her North Node. So in some way, he sort of brings her forward into her future, into her destiny through his Jupiter. Okay, an expansion of her destiny. she also has Pallas and Juno conjunct his Neptune um, in Libra. And, Pallas, Juno, Vesta, Ceres, all very active in her chart, um, are generally very active in the chart of women who are in positions of power. So they're sort of all sort of coming at his chart. Is that correct? Yeah. So she has her Ceres is on his Jupiter. Her her Vest her Vesta is on his Pluto, and her Pallas and her Juno are on his Neptune. And so she has like all the force of the goddesses on him. So this was really this was set up in heaven, for goodness sakes. Let's see if there's something else here that I want to mention. So that's the major things that I see um, in this chart. In this chart, her Mercury in Sagittarius is almost exactly in conjunct. His Mercury and her Jupiter is in conjunct. Her Saturn is in conjunct his Saturn. So and his Venus. So she's somewhat of an irritant to him, and brings out his self doubt. Okay, so that's very interesting. So here is a woman who is um, one of the really on her path. And one of the things I notice about people, very successful people, is that they fully inhabit their chart. And even though we don't have an accurate birth time, we can see patterns within her chart. And so she is on a certain level here at this time doing what she's doing. She was sort of picked by fate to be another catalyst for change for the president, the 45th president, and also for the country in a positive way. So I think. So I thought that would be interesting. You let me know if you think that's interesting. Um, I do charts for people. Even if we don't have an accurate birth time, we can still get a lot of information from your chart. But of course, accurate birth times are always preferable. And I can do the numerology and astrology for you. That's called a Kabbalistic life reading. You can purchase that on my website. Um, and if anybody has had one, and you liked them, you can comment, let people know. And the links will be below. And I also now have a donation link if you're interested in donating a little something. But that's all up to you, folks. I enjoy what I'm doing, and I hope that this is helping people understand um, a little bit more of the context of the time we're in. Have yourself a great day. Like and subscribe. Donate if you want, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.